Scano. How are you guys? My grandmother taught me how to make beads and how to make necklaces, and she did that from the time I was about 12. So when I grew up and through high school and going into the Army, whenever I wanted to go somewhere, I'd make a whole bunch of stuff and go sell it. And that's how I traveled, was taking my artwork and traveling around. So I've always been an artist making things. My grandmother taught me how to do stuff, and she said, your biggest asset is your hands. You have good hands, you can make things. If you have something, you can figure out how to make it, tear it apart, see how it's made, and then put it back together. So that's how I grew up. That's how I established what I do for a living. That's one of the organizations we started here, Cayuga Lake Water Protectors, because we're learning that the salt mine is starting to let salt into the water, into the lake, and we can't let that stuff go. We have to fight for that. We have to fight to make people aware that what we do to the land affects us. We drink the water, and where Donna lives, her whole part of the reservation, you can't drink the water. It's just, we have to go get water from somewhere else. It's contaminated. It's just, you can't do it. And every reservation in Canada has a boil water advisory. So in order to take water from the stream or from your well, you have to boil it before you can drink it or use it. So that part of over in Canada, that's only across the river, what we call a ditch, you know? But when I was a kid, you would go to Niagara Falls and we walk across the bridge and go to Niagara Falls, Ontario and go ice skating and come back and stuff. But when we do that, you could see the difference between Canada's putting into the Niagara River. The US stuff was just white and green and all different kinds of chemicals. They just dumped it into the water and let it dissipate. And that was for me when I was 12 and 13, I'm looking at it, I'm going, that shouldn't be done. We shouldn't be doing that. You know, so that's been my concern ever since I was a kid. With the flute music, I want to take it back to where we thought everything was safe and calm, and you could play outside in the water and all that stuff. So I have a flute that is the oldest flute that I have. I was teaching in education in San Diego County at the Alpine Viejas Indian Reservation, and I was tutoring and that, and we went to an educational conference in Pasadena at the Highland Park Arboretum, and they showed a picture of a man playing the flute, and I like the sound. I like the birds and the animals in there. And I tried to buy his flute. I didn't have enough money. I tried to trade him, and he didn't have anything to trade that he wanted. I didn't have anything. So I kind of gave it up, and I went to a powwow that weekend. And went to the powwow, and he was set up. He had his flutes all there on the table, and I still didn't have enough. I had a mountain lion skin. I was trying to trade with him, and there was no space because it was like this big, folded up. He didn't have enough room on the plane to take it back, so I gave up that idea. And then I went back to making my arts and crafts, and I had an idea of traveling around the country making things that people wore as part of their regalia. Most of this stuff that I make is at the time was Southern Plains style of work. Some of the rings that I have travel all the way to the Southern Plains from the 1700s. They traveled with the fur trade and came back and stuff. So I was making Southern Plains stuff, and I went to the powwow. I still couldn't trade him. He didn't have nothing to trade with. So I gave it up, and I started going on my journey. I went from Southern California to New York, back here to come home. I stopped at 3 powwows on the way there. One was Acoma City, Acoma in New Mexico. And they had a fiesta, a Saints Day, and they had a big cookhouse, flat roof, and they were throwing chickens, and they were throwing pigs and rabbits, and baskets full of clothing and towels and those plastic bags and stuff, throwing it off the roof, and the crowd was just huge. You couldn't walk through it without bumping into somebody. And at the time, I'm down the plaza, down the road, across the street, and I'm got my tables in front of my van, and I'm going, oh, I'm getting hungry. And all of a sudden, a roll of baked bread hit my tire. From all the way up there, rolled down. So that was the first time that I had realized that I'm supposed to be doing what I'm doing, because the Creator was watching me and giving me stuff and providing for me when I thought I needed it. This has been an idea that I've had for a long time. The part about being Cayuga and landless, every reservation that I went to, traveling around, they always say, where's your homeland? Where's your land? Where's your res? We don't have any. We got kicked out in the 1790s. We got burnout. We've had to go to all other places. So it's always been a sore spot for me that we didn't have any land. And so coming home and being at the share farm, at the Cayuga Share Farm in 2005 was the dream that I had as a kid. I fulfilled that dream of coming home and living on the land. The first day I got home, I woke up in the morning and all those chickadees were in the trees, just like leaves. It was all talking. And they sat there for 45 minutes and just welcomed me home, I guess. Another sign of I'm supposed to be doing what I'm doing. So that has grown from this flute. I finally got to a powwow in Oklahoma called the Champion of Champions powwow. I set up my table, and I had strings of beads and necklaces and stuff, and he came and sat up next to me. And I got this flute from him, and I traded him an eagle claw, bone, turquoise necklace, and a catlinite necklace for this. So for me, the woods, the outside playing as a kid on Tuscarora, that's what I hear when I play this. So I'm taking my music back to being safe and growing up where you're not worried about the outside world, but you can hear everything around us. So when I got this, it took me 3 weeks to make it work. I couldn't get the sound coming out of the bottom 3 notes. And I'm on the road selling my arts and crafts. So since then, this flute has changed everything that I do. Because originally I was going to do regalia and make arts and crafts and necklaces and sell stuff. But this brought the attention to what I was trying to convey as far as I have 3 recordings. The first one's Winter Night Song. And the sound of this is winter for me, growing up as a kid. We had drafty windows, so that's what I heard as I was sleeping. So I started making flutes when I got back here in New York, and I started making small ones like this. And I haven't stopped traveling from 81 till 2005 when I moved onto the Share Farm. This is the oldest one that I've made, and it's a Cayuga flute. And Tommy Ware from Cayuga told me how to make this. And so I've traveled around to all the museums and the powwows and got their fingering patterns so I could make flutes in their style. So when I made this flute, it didn't have the falsetto. I couldn't find that. I was asked to carry water to Onondaga Lake as part of a ceremony, and so I'm carrying the bucket of water, and this fell out of my backpack, and I didn't see it, and I stepped on it. So I let it sit for a year. I just got disappointed. I put it and glued it back together, but the falsetto was there. And I've never had that come out in flutes before, so I couldn't. That wasn't there. And now they're coming out in the flutes that I make. And I make things by accident. I originally made this flute, and I missed the fingering pattern. And so I went ahead and made it. I don't want to throw my work away. So after I made it, I put 2 notes on the back to act like a saxophone. After that, I found a 200-year-old flute with this fingering pattern in the trading post out north of Wisconsin Dells. And then in the same place, they had an 8-note flute with all 8 flute notes on top. So what I was doing for my amusement, I guess, somebody else had made it. Somebody else had made that flute with the 8 notes. These are supposed to be courting flutes for courtship. And so you have to be careful who you aim them at because they do work. This is a flute I got from the Peabody Museum. Its notes are wider in each note. I forgot to write the name of the nation it was from. So I keep learning. I was given this flute because of the presentations I make, because we were asked by the Japanese community in Canada. They got repatriated the money they lost for the internment that they went through in World War II. So the first thing they did is they wanted to ask the native people to come and join an Earth Spirit Festival to help heal, because the land that the uranium was taken from was Navajo and Hopi land. And it was changed, the Hopi call themselves a people of peace. And it was changed into nuclear energy, a nuclear bomb. And they felt that was something that they still don't like, because it's changing the world into something that we can't control. We have to let it sit for thousands of years before we can even handle it. So they invited people to go up there and do this Earth Festival, Earth Spirit Festival. And they gave me this flute because of the things I bring up when I talk. So a lot of flutes are given to me because of the things that I bring up and say. I was working with the EPA and I was in Washington, D.C., and I went to the Native American Museum, and the Choctaw people were making a dance presentation. And this guy's selling bamboo flutes, and I had to have one. I'm learning that when you get older, your hands don't work as well, or if they get cold. Someone ran over my apple tree in my house when I lived in Tuscarora and missed 2 telephone poles and hit the tree and rolled over, and nothing happened to him. He was lucky. But after the tree sat there for 6 months, I said, well, I better make a flute out of it. So I found a piece of wood that's all crooked. Nice, hard, high note. So I always imitate the birds and the animals, and this one was taking me as high as I could find so far. So I always pictured eagles cavorting, and in their courtship, they grab onto each other's tails and they fall and spin down and then go away. I've heard that, but I never saw it. I was coming back from Donna's house in Six Nations, Ontario, coming down through Hamilton, and as I'm coming down the hill, I see this eagle up on top, just floating around doing the things that I heard they did, but I never saw them because they're up so high. So when I play this, it's like I'm way up there with them. A lot of times I'll see a piece of wood or an antler, and I'll say that needs to be a flute. And so I made this flute, and it's as high as that one. This is an elk antler. I had made another one, and I was cut in the middle, cut in half. And once you lose the direction of the saw blade, you can't get it back. It just goes right out. So I took a week to cut this all the way down there. Just got to do every stroke by that's how slow you got to go. There's a lot of communications with the birds and the animals with the flutes. I go to California and I'll play one of these flutes, and the insects will stop in the desert. They just stop making noise. And as soon as I stop playing, they'll start going again. The last time I was in Topanga Canyon, I went up in the woods, in the brush, and it was so dry you could take the leaves and crumble it to dust. And the thoughts that I'm getting is that they need water really bad. They need rain, because it doesn't rain very often out there. So a lot of things that I think of and when I'm out traveling and stuff comes out in the flutes. This is the thinnest flute that I've made. It's maybe a 1/16. It's real thin inside. And for me, the sound of the flutes resonate. The wood resonates. If it's a darker wood like this, it'll be more resonant. If it's a lighter wood like this, it'll be a stronger note. So there's a variety of sounds that come out of this.